How's that? How's that? Hi there, my name is Peter Janis. I am here to tell you all about the Radial JDX. Today we're going to talk to you about how this really cool widget works and why it's important, as I try not to get all caught up in the wires here. So I was just playing through this Mesa Boogie amplifier, and as you know, as a player, when you're moving around, what happens is that the sound of the amp changes as you move. Why? Because each loudspeaker is actually sending information to your brain, to your ears, and it's changing based on where you're standing in the room. So for example, if I'm standing here, this loudspeaker and this loudspeaker are actually coming at me at a slightly different time, so it's changing the phase relationship. As the sound bounces off the floor, it changes the relationship. As it echoes in the room, it changes the relationship. So everything is changing, everything's moving, everything's all over the place. Okay, that is the essence of what makes a guitar sound really cool on stage. However, a big problem has occurred over the last few years. What's happened is that all these guitar players have been using in-ear monitors. And all of a sudden the guitar player is going, wow, that really sounds bad. It sounds awful. When I move around, it doesn't change. It's very stagnant. And boy, the tone sure doesn't sound like my guitar amp. How do you front of house engineers do it? What magic do you have that makes that happen? Well, the magic is a lot of time and effort. Every night, engineers have to take all kinds of time trying to make guitar sounds good through the PA system. What typically happens, you've got your amplifier, you've got a microphone right in front of the amp, and it goes to the mixer. So the engineer spends a whole bunch of time trying to fix it. What you have down here is the typical setup. What we've got is an SM57 in front of a 412 cabinet. This time we've got this cool Mesa Boogie amp. One of our friends from Mesa Boogie has been so helpful in selling us one of these at a pretty good price, so we could afford to have one here in our demo room here over at Radial. Anyway, watch what happens. As soon as you're on stage, you're playing guitar, and someone comes over and moves that microphone, just by that much, the sound has changed. You move it up a little bit, the sound has changed. Every single night, the sound is different. How, as an engineer, are you possibly supposed to get consistency? It's really hard. So what do people do? They try to tape the microphone in place. You know, it's really tough. And the problem is the stage resonance, in other words, the echo and resonance from the stage affects the sound. How close the drum kit is to the mic will affect the sound because of the bleed from the other instruments. You've got the acoustics in the room, the echo, every club, every stage, every arena, it's always different. So you've got inconsistencies here. So as a technician, as an engineer, the most important thing of all is how do you get the beer? I know you're thinking, what do you mean, how do you get the beer? Well, how do you get this fixed so you can go have beer? You want the artist to be happy. You want the musician to be happy on stage. So the trick is, we've got to give them consistency. That's what the JDX is all about. This is really about getting the beer faster. And how it works is right here. JDX connects from the back of the head here, then into the cabinet here. So what's happening is it actually is taking a feed from the cabinet. But what's really cool about the JDX is that at the input it has a reactive load in the form of a transformer. So what's really going on here is as the sound goes this way into the loudspeaker, it actually goes into the loudspeaker, completes a circle, and that circuit comes right back and actually hits the JDX again, because it's actually part of the circuit. So you're getting the back electromagnetic push or the field from the loudspeaker that actually creates part of that sound. So before we filter and tone shape the sound, which is what that engineer does every night, we actually capture a reactive load. So it starts to sound a lot more natural. It breathes a lot more. That's the huge difference with the JDX with other boxes. They just don't sound real. This one sounds really natural. That's why a lot of these bands like Slayer and Megadeth, Dimmu Borgir on the heavy metal side, you've got a bunch of country artists starting to use this thing. I was at the Sting concert the other day. They're using the JDX on their guitars. I mean, it's becoming a very popular box because what it does is it captures the sound, and therefore you don't need to put a microphone on the guitar amp every night. It catches the sound for you, and it gives you consistency every night. Once you set the sound for that in your monitor, it's always the same. So for the guitar player, he's happy. Once you've spent that time up front, hit your programmable mixer, you're done. I mean, you've got it all. You are happening. You have that sound. The other cool thing about it is that if you do add a microphone, you can then take the JDX and combine the microphone. And how you do that is by delaying, because this is an electrical wire that's going this way and this is a microphone, so you've actually got airspace. The way to get really fat sounds quickly is you can add in a device here called the phaser. And that's a phase adjustment tool. And then what that does is it takes the sound, let's say, from the guitar, which would be like that, and the microphone, which would happen a little bit afterwards, and it shifts that guitar over a little bit. It phase adjusts it. So that's how you really key into the sound. So the JDX, really cool DI box, designed to capture the sound of the guitar from the amp and cabinet. Sounds amazing on bass. Ask the guys from Chickenfoot. They use it, you know, you got the Satriani band. They're using it on bass, of all things. Bass, can you imagine? Anyway, JDX from Radial.